group of people on stage. It's insane.
Yeah. And I know Coach Kim and Koma haven't had that many LCK games, but the support around them certainly has. But let's dive into it. Let's get into the draft here for game number 2. Fearless, I think with the champions that have been picked in the first game, this is going to change a lot of what we're going to see as far as the bans are going to be concerned. Outside of the Varus, which obviously is going to remain the same.
Kalista as well.
Yeah, I think a few of the priorities do need to shift around with the fact that there's no Gwen, no Rumble, and things like this.
Yeah, I do think the Ezreal priority is really high in this game as well, since it wasn't played in the last. So it looks like we're going to have a redraft.
Wow.
At least
they banned the draft.
Early. Yeah.
We need to just remind everyone that you're not allowed to ban the draft. If you ban the draft, then we just have to do another draft. Yeah. We're going to check out exactly what happened there. Doesn't look like it was like a I tried to ban this champion and it didn't actually work type situation. Seems to be something
I think
else.
the draft may have crashed or something. We'll let you guys know if we get any updates on it. But like I said, luckily it happened early in the draft, so nothing too crazy.
I hope it's not that Jonas Strong's TV computer blue screened or something like that. It's got a little sad face that pops up. Oh,
yeah.
That wouldn't be good. We need Jonas Strong in there because the last game was an absolute banger. He's going to have to be on form. I know Kisan's here as well here today, another one of our observers, and I think they got their work cut out for them because there is so much that you cannot afford to miss in these games. I think that the ward that was illustrated in that brush by the space, absolutely pivotal at being able to understand exactly why those plays were happening and why Keria finding that angle was so incredibly important there for T1 to break open the game.
It's just T1 looked like they had a lot better synergy. They had control. They never let go. And getting an early lead at this highest level, we're talking, you know, the highest level League of Legends you're watching right now around the world. And it looks like it's been our highest level individual game I think we've had of all of LCK. It's that when you don't let those leads go and you play so oppressively, I mean, you could see the lack of vision for Gen G, how they saw Keria, they saw Faker, like, we got to get out. But now we're safe, we're good, we're far enough back. But that controller didn't reveal the ward. That was there on the right side. It was just out of range. And, you know, it's a very, very oppressive composition what T1 was able to get in that first game. Ahri seems to be so incredibly strong right now, Atlas, I think.
Yeah.
Moving forward, obviously in Fearless, you know, we're not going to see it again for the rest of this series, but it's definitely a pick, I think, that isn't getting enough attention. I know in solo queue and on Reddit, everyone's been talking about this pick is broken, but it almost feels like it's to replace some of these bans we're seeing on Red side.
I like this to-do ran list. That's cute. I haven't seen that pun before. As here we are, we're back into it one more time. I have a prediction. I think the Varus is going to be the first ban.
Okay. I have a prediction as well.
What's that?
I think Kalista will be the second ban.
Ooh, that's a real prediction, though, Wolf. That's dangerous.
I'm putting it out there. You know, we had some of the stats for Ruler's most played champions. Kalista was pretty low on the list, which seems weird, but he's usually not allowed to play it.
Yeah, it's because it's banned all the time.
And my pred wasn't correct. They went Jace first.
Well, they do have 3 bans, so it's likely that it'll still be able to be banned if they would like to. I think Vi is probably another one, as the Varus Vi on blue side just seems to be very popular.
Yeah, it's been quite strong to threaten that Nefiri pick as well.
Yep.
We'll see what comes through here. A little bit of a wait on this one. There's the Vi on red side. Victor.
We've switched it around. We've gone with a different Vi champion, which may mean that we're going to do another draft. I'm not entirely sure. Unless they do decide that it is a Victor ban. Faker, a very good Victor situation. Jisun was trying to talk to me, but I was talking over her. Can you repeat that for me, please, Jisun? Just a graphic glitch. So it was, in fact, the Victor banned away and the Sejuani to follow up.
Okay, Sejuani gone. One of Oner's best. As it feels like Kalista has a lot more value to me than Nefiri in this slot, even though they banned the Vi.
I think ban neither of them.
Well, you can go for the trade, but I personally favor the Kalista more. And to give that to Ruler, one of his iconic picks, just feels like a risk I wouldn't take myself.
Yeah. The Kalista will still be banned away. Okay. Like you're saying,
I like
we're
that.
Safe. We're safe.
I like that, you know? Not just because I predicted it to be banned second.
Hey, but you did manage to get it.
Nefiri, I think, is a pick that doesn't offer any CC, right? It's a pick that does a lot of burst damage and can take over team fights, is incredibly powerful at getting access to backline targets, but without its CC, has often fallen flat on its face into the tanky compositions that we've seen, or into compositions that can lock her down after she goes unstoppable, and then she's kind of useless in the fight because she can't offer much utility. So I think that's part of why we haven't seen that much success. I'm curious to see with the Vi band, what T1's response to this will be.
I really like the Ambessa. A lot of power there towards the top side of the map. What will Oner put alongside it? I think something tanky has been what we've seen into Nefiri's before, but instead, it's going to be a Corki lock-in, which is telling me that Lilia is coming. Lilia or the Maokai, another choice. We've seen a lot of the Liandry's Maokai crop up overseas, not necessarily here in the LCK. We still stand by the tanky version.
I like the Maokai more in this situation, but we'll see what else this comp has to offer. Since Lilia is so squishy into Nefiri, feels like a bit of a risk. But we will see.
Yeah.
As moving forward here, the Corki is a flex. Gnar, going to be a great option here for Keen into this Ambessa in the top lane. I don't think that this will be flexed to mid. Very low chance. So it feels like a really nice, safe lock-in here. And you could go for something like an Ezreal right now, but the Corki is a bit of a threat.
Yeah, I think an Orianna angle is what I'm kind of expecting here. The Orianna Nefiri is something we saw out of KT. BDD and Cuz actually managing to nail the combo over and over again, but instead the Ezreal is going to be locked in as the priority choice. Trinity Force versus Trinity Force, if that Corki is going to head towards the bottom lane.
You'll opt for that. What's that jungle pick going to be? The Maokai feels pretty strong here, you know, in terms of locking down these big threats. The Gnar as well can be one that's trying to look for a flank, trying to build up that Gnar bar, can deny him entry into the fights. And it's one of the best tanky options they have left. I mean, the Sejuani is gone. They, okay.
So that is basically telling us that the Corki is heading towards the bottom lane. I think Faker is likely to want something like an Orianna, which means this is actually so smart, though, because T1 have identified that Gen G would like an Orianna, if possible. And so what they're basically doing is saying, we've got a jungler that would also really like an Orianna. Are you going to ban it? Because we get the first cab off the rank if you decide not to take it away, as Talia is going to be the ban.
Yeah, I think Orianna stocks are up, but Gen G will likely just ban it here, just simply because, like you said, red side is T1s and they have the pick priority. So it's too high of a risk not to, especially if you consider how much other follow-up there is with this Ambessa onto anyone who gets caught by it. So down it goes.
I feel like it does double duty, forcing that ban on the Gen G side.
And we're losing.
Pretty impressive.
I think Ryze, actually, weirdly enough, could be a strong ban here for T1. They're losing a lot of these consistent damage AP mid laners right now. With Talia gone, Victor's gone, you know, the Ahri's gone, the Azir obviously was played by Chovy in Game 1. So Ryze stock's pretty high at the moment in terms of AP damage dealers.
Yeah, there's not a lot of just control mages, I guess, still up and available, especially with that Orianna banned away, like you say. I think Ryze needs to be banned also from Gen G to consider, because Faker, I hear, is pretty good at the champion, has been for some time. I
wonder if that'll just be the ban there as they go for the Elise instead. Again. With a Leona ban. Interesting. Another pick that we haven't really seen but would kind of fit the bill here would be the Hui. I feel for T1's composition.
True.
As good wave clear, but again, a little bit more niche right now. Ryze gives so much rotational power when you already have the global of the Nocturne, so
you don't have a lot of range, and you're going into an Ezreal, so that might be a hindrance, but it's still going to be locked in here as Faker playing Ahri and Ryze already on his 12th anniversary. That feels pretty good. Probably needs an Azir game if we were going to be real about it, and kind of would prefer to have 4 games so we could also get an Orianna game in there. But feels like we're getting treated to some classics from Faker here with Ahri and Ryze.
There's so many different angles Chovy could go for here. I was going to say Galio is one of them. I was going to say he could go hyper scaling and go for an Aurelion Soul, which he's loved to play in the past. But it doesn't really suit the composition as much as a Galio who could follow up on the Gnar, can follow up on the Nefiri. And Nautilus will be the final lock great into the Corki. Can guarantee he's going to get knocked up by that ultimate even if he Valkyries away. And now the question is, what's that support here in the bottom lane for Keria?
Yeah, see what he decides to go with.
I mean, I don't think this is the Pyke angle.
That doesn't feel like a good one. There are some pretty burly members of Gen G, not to mention the fact that Neferi can go untargetable.
It's not a Renata angle either.
Oh, Poppy's up? My god!
It's not a bad Poppy angle, but it's not a standard one either, in that, you know, the Ezreal, obviously, his shift is a blink, and he can still follow up and push out this Poppy pretty well. As well as, yes, she can be good into Gnar, but that's pretty situational. Can be decent into Fury, but that's also quite situational. I think the bigger value is what it does for objective fights. The Keeper's Verdict is going to be super strong here when T1 can already out-rotate you on the map pretty easily. The Galio feels good here too, because while it's decent into the Rise and the lane matchup, also can follow him to a certain extent with his ultimate. So that's a great lock-in here for Chovy. You're going to sacrifice a little bit of damage with this, but Galio's pretty overtuned, I would say, in a lot of ways right now. I feel like you're much happier with the utility. Chovy is known for some big taunts on this pick as well throughout his career. So this is a pretty banger setup. I don't really lean very heavily either way on compositions. I do think that T1's comp has a slightly higher ceiling, though, and what it can do around the map, especially if they get a lead like they did in Game 1, it becomes so oppressive.
I do think that T1's composition plays into the hands of Gen G just a little bit with their short range, but I think the Poppy is such a masterstroke. I think that if you get that Keeper's Verdict charging while the gargoyle's falling from the sky, you're almost always a victim, no matter what, right? And so Keria is going to have so much control of this game with this Poppy wielding this big old hammer. I'm really looking forward to getting into it. Game number 2 right now. Oh man, it is deafening here in Lore Park. As already Doran and Keen scuffling momentarily. Two of our, like, it's so interesting because I remember when Doran was that guy on Griffin, you know, back in the day who didn't really get a shot earlier on and then moved to DRX and sort of had his moments. But he has really become a veteran here. It's been 7 years since that moment. Him and Keen, really some of the mainstays here in the LCK at this point in time.
I mean, looking at the names, Duro is obviously the youngest player that we have out of these 10, but then it's Oner and Guma. You know, it's like, wow. What year is it? Like, every single player on the besides Duro has a massive history. That's what I was saying earlier. I don't know if you could put more days played, more games played in one single matchup anywhere in the world in any region. Yeah, like, this is kind of wild.
No, it's pretty ridiculous. Chovy and Faker also a tale as old as time, and some of, you know, the best games that we've seen. I remember 2019 Rift Rivals, Rookie versus Faker with the Galio meta. It was some of the best Galio that we've seen. I think it might have even been 2018 when it wasn't even a very good SKT year, and still that matchup was an absolute banger. But it was Chovy that sort of took the mantle for Galio play after that massive taunt that he had on Gen G afterwards. We're paying some attention here on the bottom side of the map as Duro moving a little bit far up, gets ignited immediately, and the flash forward from Keria looking to try and lock down the kill. Duro thinking about turning, and I don't know about that one as Gumayusi moves forward. Level 2 gained here by both bottom lanes, but Duro looking a bit worse for wear.
Yeah, he does have Hex Flash, so down a summoner, but at least he has that. Didn't use his Ignite either, but I just don't think there's any way they could turn this one back around without some additional time and some healing to come through, which he is looking for now. But it's the Gatling gun for Gumayusi that's just going to shred that resistance down to 0 practically at this point at level 2 and make those trades so incredibly difficult to pull off, especially when Keria can counter-engage on you and push you into a wall.
Yep. Oh, Duro thinking about trying to find an angle as they're defending their wards. Titan's Wrath comes in, and with that now on cooldown, could be an opportunity here as a Justice Punch into the taunt from Chovy, but Faker says, okay.
Yeah, I don't care. Nice try, buddy.
And this time, instead of T1 just having the natural lane leads, it is Gen G in a better position, largely to do with the Gnar on the top side, being able to farm very effectively. This bottom lane's also having a decent time as Ruler Arcane shifting forward is dangerous. Duro actually going to pay for it though as Gumayusi is the one that goes low and first blood goes to the Nautilus. Keria doesn't have flash. He's likely to go down as well, wanting to take Ruler with him, but he holds the barrier and despite the Q he stays alive.
A little bit of a frowny face, a little bit of a, you know, colon slash type face from Keria there after that one. little bit frustrated with how the end result came through, but that W connecting from Ruler, getting the empowered hit there, actually took so much health away from Gumayusi.
Ooh, Doran going aggressive onto Keen here, wanting to charge that Gnar as best he can. Remember, if you do start walking away from the Gnar, it can be a bit of a problem, but it is just some biffo here towards the top side, and my goodness, it's 1,000 gold, the lead for the Gen G bottom lane as a result of that.
Here comes Keria, but he's seen on a ward. Doran doesn't seem to care. As we'll go back to this play, this W here connecting is so much damage, and then Ezreal's able to get out, and then they target the Nautilus, interestingly, so he's just tanky enough that allows Ezreal to do so much more damage. And then here, like you said, there's no flash for Keria. He doesn't have enough damage. Looks for this play. Yep, gets the barrier at least. It was very close. But
it was really nicely played from Ruler, identifying, I have barrier, it's going to be fine, we can kill him. Minions do so much damage at that stage of the game, as you can see. Ruler took a lot of his health bar just from that. But man, this is really going to set the tone for how this game is going to look, as Doran is still here on this top side. Ruler gets a ward in as he's looking to actually put the pressure on as Keria shows his position. Remember, the Arcane Shift has already happened, but he still has flash. The flash forward from Doran is going to be ended, and Ruler just puts him down!
Oh man, Ruler is ready to have a fantastic game here in this second one. Two fantastic plays back-to-back. The bottom lane play there where he gets the punish, and then this one here, unaware but doesn't care. He gets a flash away, buys that space, and gets the kill. His second of the game, third for the duo. And this looks doomed. When you see Keria show up on Ruler's cam, you're like, oh, there's no way, right? There's no way this guy gets out. But he puts so much damage in, waits the last possible second to flash, gets the empowered Q again there with the W to come through. And that takes Doran out. This Ezreal is accelerated. We've had 2 early Ezreal leads today. The last one went a certain way, and I think this one might go the same if something doesn't change soon.
Yeah, this is the biggest lead that we had until the very end of the last game. It's kind of crazy. As Kane going to try and put some pressure on Doran once again, throws a rock at him, and has a minion wave here to push forward, will be able to get himself a crash. And one good thing to note is the fact that Guma isn't behind in farm or anything like that. The bad thing is that he's 750 gold behind. As Gen G looking to get some control over these grubs. Oner moving in, Keria in position as well.
Faker, he has Prio. And come over here, could even look for a Realm Warp collapse, but doesn't necessarily have to. It's going to be much tougher for Gen G to break their way through, but they get away with it here as Ruler pushes out Guma. And that alone, it looks like it's going to be enough because Chovy can join with his ultimate. They want to respect it.
Yeah, I think having topside control here for Gen G was enough to be able to grab that for them, as the public execution is, in fact, pretty private there from Doran. Fortunately.
Oner is going to turn his attention to this dragon, so it will be grubs for Drake, the trade. Gen G getting all 3 grubs. And Ruler continuing to push his advantage here.
Owie. Oh, goodness. Okay, Arcane Shift. Gumayusi down to 300. Is at least underneath his turret with a barrier at the ready and a Keria to try and help out. Keria needing to get a little bit of experience, I'm pretty sure, although he's very, very close to level 5. As Canyon does hit that level 6 mark, and the Dragon will be going over to Oner, no worries. Of course, this is a composition that does really want to hit level 6 on the side of T1. So, but True Shot Barrage now going to get flashed here by Keria. Steadfast Presence as Duro's going to have to flash. Man, he would have died if he had taken that last turret shot. Pretty lucky there for him, as Gen G really pushing their limits on this top side.
Right before this happened, I didn't think they were going to go for the kill onto Keria, but I was going to say Keria is not going to be able to stop Ruler from getting plates. Not really in this situation. And you mentioned Guma not really being that far behind in farm, but he kind of is now after getting pushed out there. And Keria, at least getting some of that experience, he's a whole level behind right now. Will finally hit that level 5, but so much money.
I have a feeling that Kane could be in trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, Gumayusi going to walk over a ward here. Kane does have the Gnar in a pretty good spot as Chovy looking to try and see what Faker's up to. Faker is walking around, as it turns out. Looks like Kane is going to live for now as the rest of the team is going to turn up. So backup arrives. There is feats of strength completed here for Gen G, largely off the back of this 2v2 on the bottom side of the map. And by largely, I mean entirely.
Yeah.
And they need a couple more objectives if they do want the feats of strength.
Yeah.
Game looking so much better for Gen G than game number 1.
It's just such a massive lead in the top lane as well. In terms of farm, and see half a level up right now, Keen, and significant farm advantage. It's only 200 gold, but it's something when you add up all the other pieces, you know, the bottom lane. And Faker has had prio, and he's had a lead himself throughout this early game, but he hasn't been able to utilize it just yet because the top side has been so lopsided.
Yeah, and I think that Gen.G now, they know what they're supposed to do. It is just all aboard the ruler train, just don't die. Keen, you can see, is just sort of messing with Keria and Guma as they do push towards the top side. Canyon has been very quiet this game, just trying to keep up with Oner as far as farm is concerned. A difficult task against the Nocturne.
He doesn't commit to it. Looked like for a second perhaps he was going to try to go down and push Ruler off of the bottom lane with a Realm Warp, but doesn't commit. So hard to catch an Ezreal. That's the thing, when you get a lead with an Ezreal and he's pushing into the top laner, if you try to gank him, he just arcane shifts away and doesn't care. And just so difficult to lock down that Ruler knows he can keep pushing those advantages, knows that even if Faker decided to Realm Warp down, catching him was just not really likely.
And he's the strongest on the map right now.
Yeah.
So even if Doran was to try and go for another 1v1, it's not really going to work out. You can see 91 is the farm. Faker is leading as far as that is concerned, as Chovy and Duro both here wanted to try and take him down. Understanding that there is not a lot of vision here for T1. Duskbringer, there's the flash in though, as Canyon's committed, but ulti comes through from Chovy. They get the knock up onto Keria, but he's pretty tanky as this Poppy, and the rest of Gen.G just going to back away. Good defensive play there from T1.
Yeah, very good defensive play. Looked like a big mistake there from Oner initially, just really playing with fire, trying to bait something, but you know, Ryze does do a lot of damage even with no real combat items here. He only has his Catalyst, but will stack up that damage quite a bit if they did go for the extended fight there. So Gen.G eventually do have to leave. But Oner loses his flash.
Yep, that's the one advantage that Gen.G managed to pick up for that play, is collecting that flash. They do sacrifice a fair bit of Chovy's health bar, as you can see here. But he should still be able to just grab this wave, no worries. As Ruler just walking away from Gumayusi, getting more and more difficult for him to stay in this lane, as we can see.
Grubs here
still farming.
Looking like they're going T1's way. Gen.G, even with this topside prio, very late to show up. I say it, Canyon coming in, doesn't have Smite.
Yeah. This should just be T1 locking one of them down, though. I think that was almost best case scenario based on the game state right now. So still fine for T1, but 5-1 is going to be the grub advantage here for Gen.G. Yeah. Oner getting the experience, I think, the biggest deal.
Absolutely.
All right, Doran does have the ult back up again, as Keen is just going to chase him out, finds the boomerang damage.
Yeah, Keen is having a lot of fun with this matchup so far. The lead is, you know, actually has now doubled to 400 here that he has. 20 CS the advantage. And Faker, you know, he has had prio this entire game. Like I've said before, he's got arranged into melee matchup here into the Galio. It's hard to kill the Galio, but pushing the waves into him, pretty easy to do. But because Ruler, wherever he is, he has the advantage, and because Doran is losing to Keen, when he's laning against him and when he's laning against Ruler, he's not going to have any prio, obviously. Just nowhere for Faker to go to make an impact. I thought perhaps we'd see a fight on the Grubs there when Gen.G showed up late, but T1 just weren't willing to do it. And, you know, with the Nefiri showing up there, Smite coming back, they're like, it's just not worth risking falling further behind when Ruler has that wave pushed in and he is so big.
Keria moving down here towards this bottom side. It is Dragon O'Clock, as we will have an Infernal as our second. I'm sensing a Cloud Soul this game, but might be getting ahead of myself.
Could be.
T1 tend to have more Cloud Souls than any other team. It's just sort of been an observation of mine. Not for any good reason. They just tend to.
Yeah.
So that might give me some hope. As Ruler has now parked himself in this mid lane, and with the Dragon now up, let's see who manages to get the control.
See Keria going to clear some of this vision here. Second Dragon would reveal, of course, what that soul is going to be. It's too valuable. Solo Elemental Drakes. And both of our global mid laners come.
Oh, there's a flash forward from Keria, but doesn't get the stun. There's the paranoia. They decide to go on top of Duro first, as the Realm Warp is going to deliver Faker to the mid lane. And Chovy holds the ultimate. I kind of thought that he would just pull the trigger. Maybe he was out of range onto Duro, but now we'll have that for a potential dragon fight.
Keria's going to get his ult up in just 3 seconds as well. Can redo it since he did not actually fully complete it.
Yeah. And depth charge still there for Duro at the same time. So his health bar is relatively low, but we'll still be able to just hit someone with that button. They do decide to face check.
Faker in the top lane here and let the Dragon go. not going to commit any further. I think Keria thought perhaps he had an angle there to set up for the Keeper's Verdict to win the numbers game as Faker showed up there with a Realm Warp, but wasn't able to find the angle. He didn't like the angle, and they don't actually commit further to the fight and actually end up giving this one up. So it's a Drake apiece. It's Mountain Soul, fortunately for you.
But that is a very powerful soul, especially for Gen.G. I feel like Gen.G, the extra tankiness will make them nigh impossible to take down. Yeah. What with Mega Gnar and the Gargoyle running around makes the Nautilus even more tanky than he otherwise would be. T1 would value it a lot as well, though. Absolutely. So just high value as far as the dragon is concerned.
Yeah, every single one of these dragons is going to be important moving forward. We're tied up one apiece.
Yeah, we got Voracious Otacon as well, so not ruinous this time around. Not going to have to worry about flowers everywhere and stuff like that, but the extra lives going to be a big deal.
Feels very good for T1's comp if they're able to get it, but we're a ways away from that now, as they're looking for a pick here onto Doran.
Yeah, Canyon should be able to stop that if he wants to, but not actually going to do so.
Happy to take the tempo advantage here instead. Faker's coming down to actually catch this. If they see him, maybe they make a play here.
Maybe
Keen's Narbar?
Yeah, it looks like Keen is instead just going to go for a bit of a reset as Canyon. Okay. I think Oner, he got the idea that Canyon was there because his Gromp was gone. Pretty close to grabbing him with the Stride Breaker there.
Yeah, close, but not quite able to do it.
Close, but similar to Graves.
Yes. Teleport now to the top lane in this lead that Gen.G has with the comp they have. It kind of just plays itself, so you don't really have to try to catch Faker. You don't really have to go for a play on the Doran. You don't have to take these risks into difficult to lock down champions. You can simply just continue to compile your lead, wait until Ezreal gets that second item, and then kind of go ham on these upcoming objective fights. You got the last dragon essentially for free, so...
Keen is continually just pushing Doran in over and over again. 30 CS the lead here for the Gnar, who's really crushing the side lane.
And with the timing
now in hand,
he knows he could just set up his Mega here if anyone's there, and he has support as well to keep pushing this advantage, look for a Demolish proc.
And look at both teams just watching, as that was a Gnar that went off. I don't know whether it actually connected onto Doran as Chovy able to clear out these minions under the turret with the Justice Punch, but you can see Faker is able to really soften him up.
I mean, sure, they're not making a play with this Mega, they're not looking for a dive, but they get the push and they get the prio for this objective, as well as they're wheeling down that turret. So sure, T1 don't end up losing anybody, they don't pull the trigger themselves, but Gen.G just continue to push these advantages. This is what they're so famous for, is getting everything with just a small advantage on the map. Faker trying to take out a turret here on the bottom side.
Yeah, you can see actually trying to take out Chovy. Does tank up the turret for quite some time, as Chovy does at least eliminate the minion wave. But not going to be able to do that again on another wave. As it is going to be another objective as the Rift Herald does go down, and Canyon locking that one up gets them the feats of strength.
Just a really good play from Gen.G to group up topside, knowing that, you know, this objective gets them feats of strength, is going to get them that turret eventually, and if T1 make a play to try to punish, you're already there to catch them and then take the objective. If they don't go, then you win anyways, and Chovy just holds bottom as long as he can.
Oh, Fury going to get caught out here as Canyon trying to go untargetable to keep himself alive, but it's getting so difficult. He flashes, he gets over the wall, but the Realm Warp from Faker is not actually going to get taken. And Fury goes the right direction and will survive.
Fortunately, a bit of a whiff there for T1. Not quite able to lock him down. The Fury very mobile. Does have the ability to go untargetable, so a tricky target to catch there. And with not a ton of information about the jungle of Gen.G there, I think it was the right call to not take the Realm Warp there as Faker, but you miss out on that gold. You're 2,200 gold behind. Feats of strength are up, and you know they also have a Herald that they can use to get even more gold in this next play. It's been, you know, in game one, it was Chovy the only one who had the lead for Gen.G. Was trying to make some plays to save the game. Didn't always work out, was often caught. Now it's the Ryze that has a lead over Galio, but it's Ryze that's not fully able to take over the game just yet and isn't really given any opportunities to pressure sides.
Yeah, we'll have that Seraphs pretty soon, and the Ryze, of course, going to scale pretty well as we get later into the game. I do think that Gen.G do have a lot of tools that can deal with a shorter range mage, but this game has once again stagnated to the point where the gold advantage is only creeping above that 2,000 mark. Gen.G have not been able to find any extra sort of legroom in to try and extend this snowball. And T1 playing some good defensive League of Legends to make sure that they stay in it. That one Drake that they managed to take definitely important here, as Gumayusi taking a bit of damage, but not too much.
There's a real strong Herald angle here as the Dragon spawns here for Canyon. He can just drop this down and try to get some damage done to that turret as they take the Drake. Safety's going to go up and do that right now. True Shot doesn't land, but you know, for T1, it's hard to punish this take at the moment without Keria getting a big ult or catching Keen, which he will not do.
Oh, perfect hop angle there for Keen to make sure that he doesn't have a back against the wall. And so Keria not able to find any joy. You can really feel it though. I think even Gen G understand that this Poppy is so important for T1. Every time Keria shows up, he's shown the utmost respect, and it is absolutely deserved.
Chovy will complete his tier 2 boots, so he's got his feet on his feet.
And there we go.
Still not starting this Dragon yet, still not dropping the Herald. Like you said, super cautious about the Poppy and what it could mean for a fight suddenly getting warped because Faker has TP, and it's not really possible for Chovy to interrupt him with the prio that he has right now. If he showed up and Keeper's Verdict hits even one, it becomes an unfavorable position for Gen G in that Dragon fight. I think that's where the Herald might come in, though, if they do decide to eventually drop it. You can feel the tension, like you said.
Oh, yeah. I think, like, we need to see this Dragon actually started at some point. As Canyon does complete his second item. That might have been what they were sort of looking for here. As you can see, Oner on a back. He might also be able to just complete Black Cleaver here. But doesn't quite have the same amount of money. He's only 250
I don't think
of Canyon, so should be pretty close to getting there.
Pickaxe picked up what he's going to get, at least for this one. But Gen G just tracking Keria constantly here. Now starting up this Dragon, trying to block any entry. And, I mean, Oner can come in from a long ways away, but Guma is going to take some time to get down, and he's very late to show up to this objective. It looks like he's not going to show up at all. They're just going to simply give this one up.
Yep. So that's going to be a second Drake going over to Gen G, the first mountain of the game.
And now they can just drop the Herald since they're all grouped, and they got the Dragon for free to maybe even get this turret. The charge alone won't do it, but they have a lot of members here.
Yeah, and with Ruler able to take these pot shots, get that extra damage with his Sheen. That is going to be the outer turret in the mid lane going down. First turret for Gen G as well to help extend that gold advantage ever further.
Ooh.
Second charge with the last Skerrick of health. As Faker going to get knocked up. He's in turret range there as well, as he wants to just take down the turret. There it goes. That's what he was looking for.
That was scary.
Oh, okay, over the wall goes Canyon, looking for a little bit of a biffo against Doran here, but Doran's able to get himself out. 2v2 is now set up here as well.
They may, it looked like for a moment, they were going to look for a dive down that bottom side, as Faker is playing with his range advantage very flirtatiously here.
Yeah, getting a little bit scared or worried, but the
I think they might
is still there.
Dive this, to be honest. I mean, with Ezreal here,
well, Keen does have a Mega Gnar on the way, but they decide instead of diving, they'll just take the free money.
Yeah, if they leave, then we'll just take the money, and now we have Autogon Prio, and no one's anywhere near for T1. They have no vision whatsoever. They have no turret. I mean, this is the closest thing division they have is a Nocturne who knows, I think something bad is happening down there where we can't see.
Well, speaking of can't see, they don't exactly know where Faker is just yet. He's going to be moving up this mid lane, as we can see, and Chovy is not in heroic entrance range. So the Autocan is dangerous.
Yeah, they back away, and they pull T1 around the map a little bit. Faker leaves the top lane, and now Chovy's got some additional free push there, using the Autocan for some additional tempo. It's not like this Galio is going to be threatening this inner turret right now, but still will force someone to go up here and deal with it, and then they could potentially start up the Autocan again. It's pulling T1 around, playing tennis, and T1's the ball.
Yeah.
And then, you know, once again, setting up for looking for any pick they can get while Ruler naturally scales. He's got 2 items. He's got his tier 3 boots. And eventually, you know, we'll get to that Baron spawning, and they could start putting on the vision pressure there.
Yeah, this game, I can't believe that we had such an exciting early game, right? With 3 kills, you know, Ruler and Duro doing some pretty amazing things, but then nothing. I think it's been 20 minutes of basically nothing, maybe 15 if we were to be more realistic.
I think that it's a real sign that Gen G respects what T1's comp can do and what this Poppy can do and how this lead can, because it is still, I mean, it's 3,000, that's nothing to shake a stick at, but it's still not an insurmountable lead. One big mistake, one overzealous Autocan attempt could put T1 right back into things. So they're just going to play a little bit slowly, play through the map like they're so famous for. So they're going to grab this blue buff.
Yep, you can see the gold lead certainly flatlined for quite some time. That turret going down in the mid lane and then being able to collect the dragon really did give that extra bump that we just see. But still, 3.5k is nothing to really worry about just yet.
Ooh, Faker might put himself too far forward here.
Yeah, Dura's going to show up, and Keen was already in position. There's the knockup from the depth charge, and this Rise is not going anywhere. Tries to realm warp, but that is not happening. And Gen G going to use this as an opportunity to head towards this Otacon. The rest of them were grouped up, and the rest, you can see Gen G actually wanting to find a little bit more of a fight before this one happens.
Spell shield's good, but he's still pushed away. But this buys time. Faker has teleport when he respawns here.
Oh dear, Keria might be in trouble. He gets smoked by Canyon as Keen wants to hop over that wall, finds the boomerang, and I think that Canyon has the damage. True Shot Barrage comes down, but there's the paranoia to try and save, but also kill as they get on top of Ruler. Ruler is dead to start this off. Doran's flashing away to try and get to safety. Faker is still dead, which is so lucky for Gen G because otherwise they could have lost the Otacon, and somehow that anchor lands. Doran just trying to survive. He can dash for, you know, about 1 billion miles, but is that enough is the question, as Canyon should have enough damage to take him down, and there it is.
Faker hit 16. Could have teleported in if he was up 5 seconds earlier, maybe to try to catch and look for a punish there. They got Ruler, but I think that's all they're really going to get out of this one, unfortunately.
Stopping the Otacon, though, is such a big deal.
Yeah,
the fact that Ruler was just caught with his pants down,
that was
a problem.
A massive turn here, because otherwise it looks like, you know, from everything else we saw, it's just not really a playable situation here. Keria is so tanky that it doesn't matter that there's a Nefiri running him down. The Keeper's verdict
is... the doggos got booped away by the ultimate.
Yeah, the Keeper's verdict isn't really the greatest, but it buys enough time for that ult to come through. And Doran just has to run with his tail between his legs to try to get out of this one. He wants to buy time for Faker to TP in. They have the control ward drop there to where Faker could teleport to. He could also teleport to this ward here as well if he were alive. He died moments before, and that's the crux of all of this. I think this is best case scenario, though, for T1, considering how it all started off with Faker getting caught.
Yep, especially with now Otacon being still alive. There is a dragon here as well, though, and that is soul point opportunity for Gen G. They've started this already. And T1, you can see, trying to set up, trying to get into position, but they're on vision here as Gen G just control this area completely. No way for T1 to get in. They're going to give it up. They do see it go down, but there's no way that they can actually change the outcome.
If Keria had ult, maybe.
Oh, Realm Warp, an opportunity here is once again. It's Ruler in trouble, and he'll just get obliterated. This time, Gen G in an awkward spot. At the same time, heroic entrance, and Duro is still dead. A double knockup, but Chovy's just giving himself up. Oner down low, but they take down the gargoyle, and T1 say you can take the dragon. I think it's time for Baron.
Okay, they're going to look for this turret as well. A little bit greedy, not quite able to get it, and some extra damage does go on to Keria. Oner fairly low here, and of course doesn't have his ultimate. But they're going to start this up just the same. Ruler is up in 20. Chovy's so long away from respawning that there's no way he's going to be able to TP in. They just need to have a little bit of defense against Canyon.
Yeah, Keeper's verdict is going to miss, as now let's see whether they can actually hold on to this. It's so dangerous. Meganar is almost there for Keen. He does get it, but it does not do enough. Canyon gets into the pit, goes untargetable, picks up one, but that is it, and T1 will take the Baron.
Traditional T1 Baron, it's a little risky, but they had the numbers, they had the advantage, and even though the Keeper's verdict doesn't connect, they can keep Canyon out. They stop hitting the Baron, they don't turn it into a 50-50, they secure the kills and secure the objective. And now T1 in a pretty nice control of this game for the first time after what was a pretty rough early game. And it all starts off with, once again, a pick onto this, you know, Ruler who's just a little bit too far out, onto the same AD carry. And you know, we think about synergy with Nocturne for mid laners, you know, it's often the Orianna, it was Aurora for a while, but, you know, Realm Warp can follow up too, as it turns out, and get right on top of him. And now T1 turned this into Otacon, and they are feeling very good about their chances. Take a gold lead here, and they can push it even further now with an extra res on the back.
Yeah, this is a real turning point in this game in every sense of the word, because now they do have that gold advantage. With the Otacon as well, they can push with this Baron so aggressively. 2 minutes left. Rebel Baron power play already ticking above just the baseline amount of gold that you get. Outer turret in the mid lane, going to be taken here by Doran most likely. As True Shot Barrage just to try and take down this empowered siege minion that's really being frustrating. Winds of War not nearly enough to take that down, and Doran, as we were talking about, just gets to work.
T1 sieging. having Oner on this flank.
Oh, another moment for Ruler, unfortunately, in that mid lane. He's just taken out Keen, soaks up a lot. We don't really have the withdrawals coming in just yet, as I don't know about that one, but still, they dive in. It's a great hook to try and answer, and the Justice Punch is there. The three-man taunt from Chovy, but remember, he's just picking up little bits of 200 gold from T1, who are now breaking open the Gen G base. Look at that Rebel Baron power play just explode. 5,300 is the number. As Keen, nothing he can do. Doran dashing around. He can go home if he'd like to. Faker in here as well as Canyon, wanting to try and take him down, but the damage has been done, ladies and gentlemen. Happy 12 Faker, 3-1-5. He was the only gold lead, and now everyone has one.
Everyone's got one on the back of two really fantastic plays from T1. And after they have double buff here, the Baron, they've got the setup here with Otacon. Making dive plays like this happen is so low risk, and it's really easy to follow up with this Nocturne ultimate coming down. Over here, the siege is real, and Faker is just layering in the damage. The Gnar is wasted, sure. They end up getting the push into the wall, but it's not enough to stop all this follow-up damage. Canyon has to go untargetable early. Duro has to flash out, and here comes that cross of the members who are in the mid lane just moments before getting that other pick. And Chovy, he does work, but it's not enough, and this might be the beginning of the end of the game.
Wow, this is the first team fight the Ruler's actually been able to play. He does manage to send someone home. Keeper's Verdict gonna get charged up here by Keria, but does instead decide to cancel it. Okay, I was pretty happy to see Ruler not just instantly dead at the beginning of a team fight. Might be a bit more of an honest one. As you can see, the gold falling off a cliff. 6,000 is close to the lead that T1 has at the end of it all.
They don't have the top inhibitor, which would be fantastic for taking this dragon, but they still have, obviously, the push in that bottom lane, which is going to naturally give them a decent amount of prio heading into what will be a soul deny on this dragon. It's not going to be soul for them, but would be huge. As we'll go back to the beginning of this play. Ruler just shifts away. They ult him.
Oner's like, I can just always do this, I think, because it hadn't really failed to work every other time.
There isn't really any follow-up. Guma is in the top lane, so yeah, they didn't quite have enough damage for the Ezreal this time around, and he does get punished. Well, not him.
Now there's one lesson that Gen G needs to learn, and that is Ruler does not be the guy who stand by himself.
No. Stand near Chovy.
We need him to stand near everyone at the same time, so that this Nocturne cannot just press R.
It's a valuable ward there for Keen and Ruler.
Oh, Dredgeline going a little bit wide there as Keria gets in another time, but this time Ruler's able to get out of the way of the public execution. Can he get the damage down? The taunt is fantastic, but Gumayusi gets on top of him. They take down the Nocturne first, so it's Gen G finding the team fight. Keen gets in, wallops Gumayusi, who cannot get the DPS, and now he's the only man standing. Gen G find an angle and fight back.
What a beautiful fight from Gen G, and it's Keria who starts it off with a knock-up there. Then they look for the follow-up CC. Base in tatters here for Gen G, but they pick up the soul off of this and will return home to defend this base. One Nexus turret down, but those respawn now. As watch how this starts off. Look at this play from Keria. Looks initially beautiful, gets the knock-up, follow-up from the Nocturne, but he kites back, and this time he's with his team. This time he's got the taunt to back him up. It's a beautiful taunt from Chovy, and Guma tries to make the heroic play to burst him down, but he's unsuccessful. Keen does work as Ruler returns to the fight and helps clean up. Very close fight there. Fantastic initiation from Keria, but this time Ruler was with his teammates, and this time he finally cleans up house.
Yeah, I cannot wait for Ruler to buy a defensive item. Like, I think he needs his Zhonya's. Just buy his Zhonya's, you know? For whenever this Nocturne is just hurtling towards you, those 3 deaths was just Oner saying, I decide now that you die. And perhaps that's something worth looking into. But as we can see here, under 2,000 gold, now the lead once again is Oner, possibly caught out. He's got a GA, but he doesn't want to lose that cooldown. True Shot Barrage coming in as Canyon dives on top. They used the Paranoia as well, but now Keria looking for an angle. Chovy finds the taunt, but only onto one as Doran gets into that backline on top of Ruler. But now he's got friends, now he has backup, and even though Canyon falls down, the carries are left alive. And Ruler gets the last laugh in this one.
Canyon getting on top of the backline there, on top of Faker and Guma. They couldn't actually offer any damage there when the turn came through. So Ruler's incredibly low, but they can't finish him off, and Canyon sacrifices himself in order to win the fight. As Oner getting caught here, initially especially is such a huge problem because Chovy can TP in, and then looking for a turn on this during the GA is just not possible with a Galio coming on top of these members. You see Keria so desperately wants this. Chovy just comes in, they taunt him. Doran is a little bit late to come through here, gets on the ruler alone, but look, there's no follow-up. Why? Because Canyon keeps Guma and Faker busy, so even though Doran does a ton of damage, he alone cannot kill Ruler, and defensively they win the fight. But without Canyon, the question is, could they take the Baron? And yes, they did.
Yeah, and the answer would have been no, because Canyon was the one that actually killed Oner after that GA came up. And so like you were saying, it was double duty. He did obviously manage to keep Faker and Gumayusi busy, but also killing Oner meant no smite, meant the Baron goes over to Gen G, and it's now their turn to try and buff up this Red Bull Baron power play themselves. And having a look at the gold graph, Gen G had it moving up and to the right quite comfortably for most of this game. T1 find that beautiful turn, but now Gen G with their selves back in the driver's seat once again. 3.5 minutes until the Elder, ladies and gentlemen, and that may just be where this game is decided. And I don't know whether that is really favored one way or the other, because both of these teams have found phenomenal team fights this game.
The Mountain Soul gives Ruler just that extra oomph. He doesn't have a defensive item, but maybe he doesn't necessarily need one when he has that shield. Now Chovy has an arm guard, so he can make a lot of plays here. Keen, Wit's End, also makes him very difficult to kill. You know, Faker's not doing that much to him. And with the Siege here, slow and steady, looking for the 4-1 here to try to push onto these inhibitors.
All right, Canyon and Oner just trading some shields out, as Canyon will be able to clear out this control ward.
It's so difficult to actually engage here as T1 to find any sort of angle.
Faker just walking up, seeing whether he can put some pressure on.
Just one cannon minion here buffed up by the Baron is starting to siege up, but it's fairly slow push here for Gen G.
Yeah. He's trying to keep them busy for as long as possible. You can see this line of wards that Gen G has. If they keep them here for long enough, then they will have so much control over the Elder Drake. They're obviously looking pretty far forward here as the Fear Tether is going to line up onto Duro, as underneath the turret they go. Doran is so incredibly low and still ticking down from that bleed, and that is going to be the turret falling. Keen now trying to get himself out of there. Look at that huge shield that he picks up with Hysterics. That's now on cooldown, and he's got the Mountain Soul as well, of course. Inhibitor goes down, just war of attrition here being won by Gen G. They transition it immediately into this turret. Doran doesn't find the public execution, and True Shot Barrage is going to do so much work. Keen diving on in. I don't know about that one. Heroic Entrance, though, gets Chovy right on top, and they've tried to split up this fight, and Ruler is untouched in the backline. Faker goes golden, but is he going to survive for long enough? He flashes to get a kill onto a Nautilus, but that is not going to change the fates of T1 here. They're looking to try and end it right now, but Keria says no. He's just getting them out of there. Chovy goes golden. Keria is likely to die, but Canyon is so incredibly low, and it's in fact Chovy that falls down. These Mystic shots are so dangerous. Gumayusi and Doran both falling to the hands of Ruler, who only has a Nexus turret in his way before game number 3.
Yep. Ruler says, sorry to keep you waiting. I'm back, and you thought you could defend. You thought that was the end of it. Certainly not. Oh, the shot!
Oh, there it is. Gets the snipe onto Keria.
Now, the base survives for now as Baron fades away, but this is 2 inhibitors down here, and the base is open practically here for Gen G to follow up later on. And so many aggressive plays go down here for Gen G to try to look for the end, and so many of them I feel are a little bit overzealous.
Yeah, this looked like game losing for Keen.
But then he's so tanky. He doesn't have Hysterics, of course, but he still has those extra resistances from the Mountain Dragon, and Ruler is doing all of the work. Keria knocking Ruler away is what gives you just a moment of hope, a moment of feeling like, okay, maybe there's a chance T1 could defend this, because he's the one who's doing all of the damage. It takes him so long to get back, but the second he does, you're like, oh no, T1 are not out of the woods yet, because this guy is insanely fed. It does, though, buy enough time for them to survive. They will live. That flash from Guma guarantees he's up, and they can actually fight one more time here on Elder. Huge smite there from Ruler as well. Very flashy. Elder is live, and T1 are nowhere near it.
They do manage to get some vision. They spot out that Gen G's doing it. Gen G wanting to catch them, not wanting to go for any sort of burger flip here, as you can understand. As Doran looks for Chovy, they kept this one leashed. Paranoia comes in, and they dive in. Oner gets there towards the Dragon, but Chovy is right there waiting for him. It's Duro that takes down Gumayusi to start this off, and Keen wasn't even here. Ruler takes out But the Poppy and the Elder goes down. Faker gonna get eaten by a dragon, and Gen.G, of course they are. They're gonna bring us to a Game 3 in this absolutely ludicrous first series between Gen.G and T1 of LCK 2025.
What a banger this series has come to be. And we've got one more in the tank. Gen.G, they had great control from the beginning, a massive lead from Ruler, but they had to fight their way back after T1 wrestled control away from them. Such resilience